I was engaged to the love of my life, but my sister met up with me and begged me to break it off. She said I had to leave him because they were in love, and he was just too afraid to break up with me because he didn't want to hurt me or my family. When I confronted my fiancé about my stepsister's accusations, he straight up denied it. He said she's been trying to come on to him for some time and he never mentioned it because he didn't want to ruin our relationship. He begged me not to believe her, and so we continued how we were. My stepsister grew resentful and made nasty comments about how I was forcing a man who didn't even love me to marry me because I had low self-esteem. A month later, I get a text from my sister. It's a video of her and my fiancé sleeping together in my bed, and multiple screenshots of him telling her he loved her, how he wished she was the girl he was marrying, and how he hated that I wouldn't let them be together. I was devastated and angry, but decided to move in silence. I went home, grabbed all my stuff, removed all my money from my joint account, and moved in with my dad. After that, I sent all the screenshots to my family and his. He tried getting back with me multiple times, but I ended up blocking him when I found out he proposed to my sister with the same ring he gave me. I left it behind. Now they're getting married. I was extremely hurt to find out that my mom, step-siblings, and stepdad were attending the wedding. When I tried to express my feelings, they dismissed me and said it wasn't their fault that I got in the way of true love and made me out to be some sort of vindictive Disney villain. So I cut contact with them and I barely spoke to my mom in 5 years. Fast forward and I get engaged to my now husband. Due to COVID, we had a small ceremony and I also fell pregnant. My dad and stepmom have been amazing throughout all of this. She knitted a pair of booties and posted them on Facebook and tagged me about how she's excited for her grandbaby. My mom didn't know I was pregnant. Shortly after, I received a phone call to confirm. Since then, she's invited me and my husband over to her house multiple times. I've declined every single time for the obvious reason. My ex-fiancé and stepsister live there. The next time my mom called, I told her I didn't want them to keep inviting me over when they knew I would be forced to see my stepsister. I'm still hurt over what they did to me, and I told her I wasn't sure if I wanted people like them in my child's life. My mom was crying hysterically and kept saying I was being cruel and I couldn't deprive her of her first grandchild. She kept wailing about how I might be the only person in our family to even give her grandchildren. Am I wrong for trying to keep my mom out of my child's life? Am I wrong for yelling at my brother at his daughter's funeral? So my brother, 37 male, married his high school sweetheart, but she sadly passed away during birth 10 years ago, which completely broke my brother, and he never recovered from that. Because of that, he fell into drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction and was unable to take care of his daughter. Let's call her Abby. Since he was unable to take responsibility as a father, my husband, 35 male, and I, 34 female, decided to take care of Abby shortly after she was born. We always wanted my brother to be involved, but he was usually too high to know what was going on. My parents tried to get him into rehab, but he would relapse every time. So we were the ones who saw Abby's first steps, her first swimming lessons, who walked her to school, and who bought her first bike. When Abby was 7, she was diagnosed with stage 3 leukemia. Nothing was too far away or too expensive to try, and we saw every specialist that we could find, and it got better for a while. At 8, she was cancer-free, but about a year later, it returned even worse. Again, we tried everything, but she just got worse. My brother visited her at the hospital once. It had taken my parents and my husband and I to get him there. He saw her and immediately left. 3 weeks later, Abby died. Both my husband and I were there and held her. The funeral was 2 weeks later and my brother showed up. He was clearly high and out of it and started yelling about how we had taken his daughter away and how we were the reason why she got sick and died. We were all very emotional, but I just couldn't believe he was actually that far gone. My dad tried to get him to calm down, but he just wouldn't stop. So as he tried to get my brother away from the crowd, I lost him. I yelled at him. How could he just abandon his daughter, his wife's legacy, and not even visit her in the hospital as she was dying? My husband stopped me, but I couldn't calm down. I was so hurt about what he said and hated him so much in that moment. My mother later told me off and blames me for ruining the service, and so does most of my family, and I think they are right. My husband has not said much since then, so am I wrong here? Leave it up to moms to defend their stupid ass sons for fucking shit up. Like, this, oh my god, like you took your brother's kid as your own and basically raised her. That's not his kid, that's your kid at this point, right? You raised her for the 8 years that she was alive or whenever she died.
I'm not the asshole for yelling at my grieving mother after her 2 kids died for abandoning me as a child. I'm a 17-year-old male, and my mom, who was a 46-year-old female, wanted to reconcile recently. I've lived with my grandparents since I was 8. My dad died when I was 2, and I just have some pictures with him, but no memories. My mother remarried when I was 5 and dumped me on my grandparents after her first new baby. Every attempt to contact my mom from my side was blocked, like I never existed. I had stalked her on every social media platform until one day I just gave up. She had had 2 children from her new husband. I don't call him stepdad. Well, he wasn't your stepdad. Hell, she wasn't your mom. A few months ago, she had a car accident in which both her children died, but she survived. I never attended the funeral for either one of them because I didn't have a relationship with my siblings. They were strangers to me. I just shared part of my DNA with them. However, a week ago, my grandparents called me down to the kitchen, and there she was. It was totally weird to see her after this long time. Before any words were exchanged, she cried and attempted to hug me. Of course, I pushed her away and before, and I yelled at her. She doesn't have any children left, and she had lost all of them. Well, sir, that is absolutely true. My grandpa had to drag me away and bring me to a room to prevent me from doing something stupid. And then they made her leave the house. Since that moment, I haven't been able to sleep, and every free minute is all I think about. While the hate I have for her has flamed up again, I really regret what I said to a woman who lost her children. Am I the a-hole here? Whew, look, I don't think you're the a-hole. The truth is that your mom abandoned you, had an entirely new family, and is only at your front door because she lost those kids and is looking for something to cling to. That's not fair to you at all because she didn't come back because she wanted to build a relationship with you or because she regretted her mistakes. She's only there because she lost her other children. So I can completely understand why you would be so angry, and you have every right to your anger. Is it the best way that you could have reacted? Of course not. But could anyone blame you after all you've been through? I don't think so. I don't think you're the asshole.
A little less than a month ago, I decided to house sit for a family member and her boyfriend for a week while they went to see their parents. I knew I wasn't getting paid for taking care of the house and feeding their pets, but that was okay because I live with my parents and a week away sounded like a dream come true. House sitting went fine and I pretty much forgotten about it until today. The family member sent me a PayPal request with no explanation. She requested $184 and I immediately called her to ask her why she was doing this. She stated it was for my share of the bills for when I stayed at their house. I told her I took a week off of work to care for her house free of charge. She said that I still had to pay utilities. I told her to go fuck herself and hung up. Ever since, she's been messaging me saying she's going to call the police and tell everyone on Facebook about what a horrible piece of shit I am. I haven't responded to any of these messages and don't plan to. But am I missing something? Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for telling my sister she would have been a terrible mother? I, 17 male, have 2 sisters, Alice 29 and Miranda 33. I am much closer to Alice than I am to Miranda. Miranda is also not on good terms with our parents. Alice has 4 kids and is currently expecting child number 5, while Miranda can't have children, which her ex divorced her for. Miranda is very successful in life. She has a nice apartment, works a good job, and earns a decent amount of money. Alice, on the other hand, is struggling financially. She had her first child right out of high school and got pregnant with her second soon after. So she decided to become a stay-at-home mom for her children while her boyfriend provides for them. Me and my parents try to help them out as much as possible, be it childcare or money, whatever she needs. I love my nieces and nephews. I take them to the park and play with the older ones. I really enjoy it. Miranda doesn't help out with them. She says it's because she's too busy. Well, she works long hours, but she doesn't have kids, so I don't know what she does on the weekends. She also doesn't help out financially, which I find unfair since she makes so much money and all she does is spend it on herself, although she does give us very nice gifts for Christmas and birthdays. So here comes the part where I may have Am I wrong for telling a social worker the real reason my sister wants a foster kid? I, 28 female, have a sister who's 36. For the sake of the story, I'll just call her Jane. Jane is married to Bob and they have 2 kids, boy and a girl. My niece and nephew are wonderful kids and no trouble at all. They fight as siblings do, but nothing big. I love them. Now for about 2 years, I did live with my sister. It was a miserable time that really affected our relationship. She saw me as free labor, money, and babysitting. Even when I managed to get a small part-time job, she demanded I hand over nearly half my pay or get out. It was hell as she took complete advantage of me. I moved out as soon as I could and we have little to no contact outside of family gatherings. Now, after I moved out, she started complaining how she has no help with the kids and never gets a break. I babysit sometimes, but I have made it clear just because I'm off work doesn't mean I want an 8-hour day with my niece and nephew. Anyway, she started talking about how she wanted to foster a kid. Not a kid, but a teenager. I pressed her for more info on this, and she said she wants to adopt a teenager so she has a live-in babysitter for her kids. This is her logic. I want a kid around 16 or 17, someone who may have I want a kid around 16 or 17, someone who may have been in the system for a while. They can share a bedroom with your nephew. She only has a 3-bedroom house, or sleep in the garage. They can help me with housework, chores, cook, and help me with my business. She bakes and sells cookies on the side. Also, babysit the kids so me and Bob can go out sometimes or have some time alone. They'll be so grateful for a home and won't complain. I won't have to pay them at all. And when they turn 18, I can just sign up for another foster kid. A teenager will be so much easier than a little kid, and they will be grateful just to have a roof, food, siblings if they have been separated from their real ones, and clothes. What the hell? How do people think of this shit? What? What am I reading? I was horrified and told her it was a horrible idea, but she didn't listen to me. She went on with it anyways. About a month ago, a social worker showed up at my apartment to ask me some questions about my sister. She had put me down as a character witness or something like that. I immediately told the social worker why my sister wanted to foster a kid and how she treated me when I lived with her. The lady then thanked me. My sister called crying, saying that she wouldn't be considered for any adoptions or fosters. My sister called crying, saying that she wouldn't be considered for any adoptions or fosters. The social worker told her that they thought her home and her weren't a good fit. She asked if I said anything, and I told the truth. She went off on me, hung up, and we haven't spoken since. A couple family members are on her side. They think foster kids are effing dogs or something and would be so happy just to have a roof and would gladly do all the housework. So, am I wrong here? What? Ugh. Don't have kids if you can't take care of them. Like, it's not, you don't have to have kids.
This is a story time of how one of my friends became obsessed with me. I met this girl through a mutual friend, and at first I didn't really like her. But over time, we grew to have a lot in common, and we hung out a lot. Over time, she became obsessive about who I hung out with, and if I wasn't with her, she would blow up my phone. One time I was shopping with a friend, and she called me 30-something times, wondering why I didn't invite her. If she couldn't get a hold of me, she would call my family, she would call other friends, she would let herself into my house, and I'm not talking like days of not talking. This is after just a couple of hours. Usually I was just asleep. She also used my name to get into a lot of bars and ended up getting me banned from those bars because she would just act a fool in them. She got banned from the bar that I worked at even. She became obsessed with hanging out with people that I knew, obsessed with who I talked to, and the final straw is when she ruined my birthday. Our birthdays were a couple days apart, but on my birthday, I decided to move into my dream apartment. I was busy loading up boxes when I got a long text message from her that said, sent me a 2 or 3 page text message bashing me. She called me every name in the book just because I didn't invite her to help me move. I had enough of her, so I blocked her on everything, but she still found ways to reach out and contact me. She even went as far as to have her roommate offer to pay me to hang out with her years later.
Am I the asshole for refusing to change my baby's name? When my husband and I found out that I was pregnant with my first baby at 24, we were overjoyed. My parents were the first to know, and they too were ecstatic. My husband's parents, however, were not. They're super religious and didn't approve of the fact that we got pregnant so young. At that point, we had both finished college and had been maintaining well-paying jobs for several years. We were settled with the house thanks to our generous amount of savings. So we just ignored the negativity and thrived off of the continual support of the rest of the family. When we found out that we were having a little girl, we started thinking of names. We decided not to have a gender reveal party since we thought it was a waste of money. Instead, we told close family and made a Facebook post to announce it to everyone else. When we finally decided on the name Blair, my in-laws finally came out of the woodwork. They hadn't been involved in the pregnancy at any point, but this seemed to enrage them beyond belief. They berated me for not choosing a biblical or family name and demanded that we change it. I politely told them that I was an atheist and we would not be choosing a biblical name simply because they wanted it. My mother-in-law called me to tell me I'm selfish and disrespectful, and my father-in-law refused to speak to me. They harassed us both about the name change, and it got to the point where my mother-in-law would be calling me at all hours of the night. We finally told them that we would change the name so that they would leave us alone about the matter, but when I held my baby girl in my hands, I announced that I would be sticking with the original name choice, Blair. Months later, my in-laws still refused to speak with us or see their grandchild. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to change? Am I the asshole for telling the truth at my best friend's wedding during my toast? I'm a 30-year-old male and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know I was limited in what I could contribute financially. But I did tell him I would try my best. So I went to the bachelor party in Miami, I rented the tux, and paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't. His fiancée at the time would text me multiple times a day with updates. Fine. I didn't always respond, and it got to the point where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I'd get a call from my buddy. She texted me for the following reasons. 1. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. 2. She was not going to order any special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served. 3. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help her with favors, seating charts, and programs, so I had to help him with those things according to her. 4. She said if I was a true best man, She said if I was a true best man, I would offer to pay for the bar bill. I don't even know what that means. 5. She had to read and improve my speech before the rehearsal dinner and wanted to be included as much as my buddy. She told me to make things up if I had to. I was not allowed to include anyone but the two of them, and no inside jokes or stories about my buddy that didn't include her. 6. Her last text said to tell my wife to keep it together and not make a pregnancy scene during the wedding. Also, she wanted her to choose a dress that downplayed her pregnancy as much as possible. I was just so aggravated, I spoke to my buddy to see if he could reason with her. He told me to just play ball this one time. It's her day and to cut him a break because he'd be dealing with her nonsense for the rest of his life. The day of, all the bride and my best friend do is scold me, berate me, and bark orders. I head down to the bar for the drink. The bride's mother is there and warns me not to get drunk because I ruined her daughter's day enough. That was the final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash, and in the speech, I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest. All the bride and my best friend do is scold me, berate me, and bark orders. I head down to the bar for the drink. The bride's mother is there and warns me not to get drunk because I ruined her daughter's day enough. That was the final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash, and in the speech, I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I wished him the best and told him I'd always be there for him, especially during the divorce. So, am I the asshole?